Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 4, and today we're taking a look at the 1975 Citroën DS23. Now this is an executive car that was produced between 1955 and 1975, with around 1.45 million being made. So despite being quite an expensive car, especially with this top of the range model, it was a huge success for Citroën, who up until then had only really been known for making cheaper, more rudimentary cars. So yeah, massive success for them. And it was also a big change in terms of the automotive industry, as this set a new standard in ride quality, braking and handling, while also having this really rather beautiful, futuristic but also functional body, as it was incredibly aerodynamic for the time. And yeah, it set standards in ride quality, braking and handling because firstly it had hydro pneumatic suspension, which replaced the usual springs of that so many other car makers used, which gave it incredible ride quality, better than even Rolls-Royce or Bentley were able to come up with at the time. And yeah, braking, because it had disc brakes, which were not the norm on cars at the time. And yeah, it was the first mass-produced car to make use of them in a successful manner. And thirdly, in terms of handling, due to the position of the engine and the fact it's got a fiberglass roof, and overall it only weighs 2,954 pounds. So yeah, still a lightweight car for such an executive class kind of car. Although it's not the kind of executive class kind of vehicle that you'd expect to see in America, as this didn't come with an automatic gearbox, it didn't have power windows, and it didn't have all that much of a powerful engine either. So it was definitely designed for the European market, more specifically the French market, as the ride quality was made to deal with the really rather poor road conditions, and the engine was limited due to the tax horsepower regulations that were in France at the time. But yeah, a superb vehicle, and one I am highly glad that is in this game, as it is genuinely one of the most brilliant cars ever made, quite frankly. It was even voted third most influential car, or third best car of the century, or whatever it was in 1999, I think it was. So yeah, a superb car in a lot of ways, even if it is not quite what you'd expect from a car that is not only so successful but considered such a great car, because there is some quirks to it. The steering wheel, for instance, is not what you'd expect in a car from the time. You've got a I think it's the you got the handbrake down there to the left near the door. You've got this weird column shift gearbox, which is kind of semi-automatic, as you have to change the gears yourself, but you have no clutch to do it with, so it's a bit weird to get used to. And then you've got the wing mirror, the rear view mirror down below near the dashboard. But yeah, it's all very different in Citroën's kind of unique kind of way, to be honest. And yeah, it's also got a quite a narrow body width, as you can see. It's not particularly wide, but there's still plenty of room in the rear, as you can see, plenty of leg room in there for at least two people. But yeah, when it tapers to the rear here, it has not got the biggest of boots, unfortunately. But thankfully, it's not taken up by a spare wheel, because the spare wheel is actually in the front, which is, yeah, again, something that wasn't all that common at the time. As you can see, it's a full spare wheel, and yeah, that's because the engine was set way further back than usual, which is part of the reason why this car has such good handling. It's also front wheel drive, and yeah, it has a 2.3 litre inline 4 engine, which is where it gets the 23 from in its name, and it has 113 horsepower and 134 pounds-feet of torque. Now unfortunately, this is only the carbureted version of this engine. There was an electronic fuel injection version that had 141 horsepower, but sadly we don't have that in this game for some reason. So yeah, that is a bit of a shame, but it's still a decent amount of horsepower and torque for this kind of vehicle. But yeah, it's by no means a speed freak, which is why when the 70s rolled by, they tried to replace this immediately with the SM, which had a Maserati-derived V6 in it, and yeah, will also still use a lot of the technology on this car. It still had the same kind of suspension, brakes, and the like, but yeah, had that more powerful engine and was going for a more Grand Tourer kind of class of car. But unfortunately, it wasn't as successful as this. But again, that's another car I would really like to have in this game, because sadly this is the only Citroën that we have in this game. I know we have the James Bond edition of the 2CV, but that's not technically the original version because it was more powerful for the film that car was featured in. So yeah, this is technically the only Citroën that we have in this game, which is a great shame because Citroën have so many great cars, and yeah, I would like more from them. The SM, like I said earlier, as well as the GS, which was a more mid-range model, also based on this car, and then yeah, a whole host of other vehicles from the 80s and 90s that Citroën really do deserve to have on a game like this. But nonetheless, let's get out onto the open road and see what this car can do. So yeah, weighing in at nearly £3,000 and not having all that much in the way of horsepower does not make this a speed freak by any means. But it's a nice high revving engine that sounds decent, and it's got a 4-speed gearbox as well, so it's able to make at least a fair decent amount of use of that power. And yeah, it's not like it stopped it from being successful in rallying either, as this won the Monte Carlo Rally twice in 1959 and 1966, as well as it was also successful in other rallies as well, but too many to mention, quite frankly, over a 20-year career. So yeah, but yeah, still a fantastic car, and yeah, you can definitely see the innovation that is in this vehicle. Unfortunately, you can't all see all of it in this game. But yeah, as you can see just from the rear, it's got its indicator lights on the roof to improve visibility for anyone behind. It's also got that suspension, which, like I said, was made for the poor French roads at the time, but can also work off-road as well in terms of softening the blows of what off-road conditions can bring. And yeah, this was such a successful car in terms of being a high quality of ride that this was used in race horse coverage, because a lot of horse racing back in the day had cars drive alongside the track with the camera stuck on top, and yeah, this was so smooth that it was able to properly keep up with the horses at any speed that they were going at. So yeah, incredible ride on this. So yeah, let you listen to the engine for a little bit and then we'll talk about it some more. So yeah, to show off what this can do in off-road conditions, I'm just going to take it to the side here and show you how smooth it's handling all of those bumps. It's not really struggling at all. Obviously it's not perfectly simulated in this game, but you can see that, yeah, especially if we go in interior, it's barely a wobble, to be honest. And yeah, I really do like those dials as well, white and black, nice and big and easy to see. Although they are a little bit weirdly off-center, if you have noticed that already. But yeah, let's get back on road and talk about it some more. So yeah, this 0 to 60 can do 0 to 60 in 13.5 seconds, 0 to 145 seconds, and going to a top speed of 112 miles an hour. So yeah, hardly a quick car in that regard. So yeah, other manufacturers certainly had this licked in terms of acceleration and speed, but none of them had this car over a barrel in terms of handling, ride comfort, and general braking, and as well as design. Because yeah, disc brakes in a car that weighs less than £3,000 from the 70s is yeah, obviously going to be really rather successful, whereas obviously a lot of cars were dealing with drum brakes at the time, especially American vehicles in the 60s. They were dealing with drum brakes for the large part. So yeah, highly innovative in that regard, but unfortunately due to some of the way of this car's design, it was not popular in America. The engine was not powerful enough, it didn't have enough equipment going for it, and yeah, the headlights were also illegal at the time. So yeah, which is a shame, because this car definitely deserved more success than it had, but it still was hardly a failure. At nearly 1.5 million cars sold, it just was clearly a car made for European and more specifically French roads than American roads, because highly unlikely the suspension on this on American smooth roads would ever be needed. So yeah, it's easy to see why, but still, I love this car, and I'm really glad it's in the game, and I can't wait to start racing it, seeing what upgrades we can give it. And yeah, generally just hooning this little French icon all the way around, to be honest. So yeah, highly recommend getting this. You have to do 50% on the current festival playlist, which is a big ask in some regards, especially for some people, because you have to do a fair amount. I had to do a few of the speed traps and one of the the danger zones, as well as the championship and a couple of other things. But it's well worth getting because it is such an iconic vehicle, and yeah, we have never had this car on a Forza game before. So yeah, brand new vehicle to the series, and one that has, yeah, quite frankly been something that has been necessary for a long time. So yeah, I do hope that this means that we get more of these kind of French cars on this game, because like I said, the SM was even better in terms of a lot of ways than this. Had that V6 Maserati derived engine, which would be a glorious thing to listen to and drive. So yeah, here's hoping that more oddities like this can come out, because yeah, Citroën, Peugeot, Renault are drastically underrepresented in comparison to other manufacturers from other countries. As far as I'm concerned, we need far more from them. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.